Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. We got a nice little break during spring break last week. We're going to wrap up our basketball seasons this year. Joining me first is going to be our head women's basketball coach, Dr. Britta Stevens. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And Coach, obviously the last game, you go back to the week before spring break, you dropped that one to Meridian 74-72. One that you feel like you kind of let get away, especially there at the end. They made the game-winning shot with about 1 second left and had a chance for a heaving three at the end, and if I remember came just a little bit short. It looked like it might have the distance but came up short. But you look back at this season and you look at it, and as we talked going into that last week, when you won the one at home before that, you went in knowing, hey, we're going to finish at least 500. Right. Can't be any worse than that. And again, we talked about, and I think I told you, if I'd have told you at the year you're going to finish 500, you'd absolutely take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the Meridian game, that was a very disappointing loss for us because at one point we led by 13 or 14. Numbers I don't do very well. We were up 13 or 14 at one point in the fourth quarter, and then to let them come back because we committed some very silly mistakes. We didn't do a good job of guarding, and then we turned the ball over at critical points late in the game. We had some, we went through a stretch at the end of the game, 4 or 5 minute stretch where we just did not score, and that made it very difficult for us to win the game, to close the game out. Kudos to them. They're a good Meridian team, and I'll tip my hat because they continued to fight even when they were down 13 or 14 or 15. They just continued to fight and continued to fight. So, and that same Meridian team went the next week in the playoffs and got a really big win over who I feel like is a good Northwest team. So they were a good team, but disappointing to lose that one at home, disappointing to lose that one on sophomore night, especially as hard as our kids had played and as hard as they has as much progress as they had made over the course of the season. Yes, if you had told me at the beginning of the year that we were going to finish 500, I would have said, sign me up right now. I'll take it, because when we started practice, I didn't know where we were going to be. When I took the job in July, we still didn't have a complete roster. We had most of a roster, but we had to complete the roster. And thankfully, we were able to add 2 transfer kids who made a huge impact for us this season. They were 2 of our sophomores that we'll lose, but they were 2 kids who played a lot of minutes for us. And without those 2, I don't know where we would be. Not only those 2, but without the other 10 as well, as hard as they worked and as much time and energy and effort as they put in. Early in the season, I'd go in my office and after practice and I'd say, Coach Holt, I'd say, I don't know if we're going to win any games. I don't know how are we going to score, how are we going to do all these things. And the progress that we made throughout the course of the season was just unbelievable. Even up until that last game, we were still growing and getting better. And that was one thing I think you saw with this team is early in the year, people who watched us in the first scrimmage at Southwest, they probably went, ooh, Co-Lin's not going to be very good. And then we just progressively got better and better and better. And by the end of the season, we were a fun team to watch, and we were very competitive, even against teams that were much, much better than we were. Even when we went to places like Gulf Coast and Pearl River, who were the teams that finished in the top of our league, we played really well against those teams. And
I think if you looked at it and you go look at the schedule breakdown, a little bit of a interesting thing to me, I didn't notice it until I was looking at it earlier. You look at your home and away splits. At home, you were 9-4. Away from Mullen Gym, you were 4-9. So I don't know how many teams actually have a split like that. You get the reverse of, and that's one thing I think you can look at, you can circle and grow at. Hey, we were really good at home and really probably should have finished 11-2. You had 2 conference games at home that got away from you, including the last one. But on the road, that's where you kind of want to work and be like, we've got to be better on the road. Like, yes, we did a great job at defending our home turf, but we've got to do as well of a job winning on the road as we do defending our home place.
Yeah, I did not know that. I knew we weren't very good on the road, especially in conference. I knew that we did not win a conference game on the road at all. Now, if you look at our schedule, our toughest games were on the road. The games at home were not. The opponents were not as tough, so we were kind of supposed to win more of those, but we had trouble. We really struggled on the road, especially in conference play. And, I'm surprised by that because we did have a lot of road games early, and I thought we were going to be road tested. And it's not like when we went on the road, we were just terrible. We were just playing better teams, and we had trouble getting over that hump. So I'm going to take that into account in scheduling next year and maybe schedule a whole lot more games inside the friendly confines of Mullen Gym, because it's nice to play at home. It's nice to have your band and your cheerleaders, and we have such a great game day experience. And I think that all contributes to our success, You say we were 9-4 at home, should be 11-2. I'll tell you, we probably should have been 13-0 because not only did we lose 2 conference games that we shouldn't have lost, we lost to Holmes in overtime, which was a game we should not have lost, and we lost one other home game that I felt like that we just should not have lost. So really good in Mullen, obviously, and we like that. One of the things I told them all year is we've got to win the home games. If we can win the home games, there are 14 conference games. if we could win all the home games, we got a shot to get in.
Right.
And we did almost that. Even as poorly as we played on the road, and there were some nights when we played very poorly, the home games gave us a shot to get in.
Right. Talk about the opponents on the road being a little bit tougher. I don't remember the fourth one, but at least 3 out of the 4 that made the Region 23 semifinals, you played them all at their place, that being Gulf Coast, Southwest, and Pearl River. So Itawamba. So all 4 on the road. That just goes to show you how tough the road schedule was for this year. And that's a little bit of a, I don't know that you want to say rarity, but you usually don't. So you usually see some teams get a little bit more even split. And I think as a coach, you would like to see that. But you just have to play what the schedule. You have to play the schedule that's given to you. So, but you look at it, and again, we talked about this before. You get those 6 sophomores. You got to tip your cap to them. They played with heart. They played their guts out all year. And really, every time you needed them to, they stepped up and answered the bell. Those 6 being Kayla Howard, LaShunty Payne, Sequoia Bolden, Ashanti Fleming, Sierra Myers, and Jamia Smith. And, Jamia and Q only here for a year.
Right.
You really wish you had them for 2 because just the way they both play, especially Q, we talked about her all year. She's the quintessential team player. Whatever you need, she said, yes, coach. She's a 5'5" guard, but I think you played her more in the 4 than you did a guard. And you asked her to go out and defend 5'9", 6 foot, 6'2", and she said, yes, coach, I'll do it. And really did an admirable job all year. Shut up. I think everybody who faced her really struggled all year. So, you tip your cap and you say thank you to the sophomores and thank you for what you've done in either your 1 year or both of your years here at Co-Lin. So, again, you look forward to next year, look towards it. And, a lot of people probably think, well, the season's over. Coach gets a break. Coach doesn't get a break, y'all. She's out recruiting, out watching things. It's March Madness, but those things. I know high schools are finished now, but now you're on the recruiting trail and kind of getting ready for next year. And I think you've got some camps coming up as well, too, in the summer we're looking forward to.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back, tip my hat to those 6 sophomores because they came in and they didn't know me. I was just some lady that they hired to be the coach here, and they embraced me and Coach Holt, and they did everything we asked them to do. So tip our hat to them. Very proud of what they did, very proud of how hard they worked. Not only do I wish I could get Q and Jamia for another year, but I'd love to have all of them for another year. If there were questions about, well, which 6, would you bring those 6 back? Those 6, all 6 of them every day of the week because they just did everything that I asked them to do. Just really proud of them and the effort that they put in. No, there is no break. We don't take a break. Now we've kind of switched gears and flipped to recruiting. We have signed 7 freshmen, which we're very, very excited about, but we've still got some spots to fill and we've still got roster spots to fill. So we're going to AAU tournaments. We're going to, last weekend we were at the All-Star games in both Louisiana and Mississippi. So we're still working to finish that roster. Not only are we working to finish the roster for next year, but we've got to also get ahead and go ahead and start looking at the class of 2025. And that's one thing we went ahead and put on our board is who are our 2025s that we want to go see very soon. So we've started looking at the 2025s as well. It doesn't ever really end, so we've got that. Then we've got camp. We've set our camp dates. Team camp is going to be June 2nd through 4th for session 1, and then session 2, June 6th through 8th. And so we've put that out, and we're trying to get teams. We're going to do that very similar to how they've always done it here at Co-Lin in the past. And, Coach Young and I have talked, and I told him, I said, I'm going to need some help and some advice from, he's an expert. He's done this for many, many years. So we're looking forward to a big camp. We're also going to do a little kids camp. Coach Sanders and I have got to get together and figure out a date for a little kids camp and put that on. So those are things that we're looking forward to. But I guess the most important priority right now is to finish the roster for next year. And I wouldn't say we're in a hurry to do that. We just need to get that done before camp really gets started and going.
And I think again we talked a lot about Q, but again there were 5 other sophomores. We don't want to say the other 5 weren't. When you look at it again, they contributed all year. From Kayla being somebody who ran the court for you, ran every, you could just tell like you've said, at times she could feel the energy of the game kind of getting away, and she'd be like, all right, I got to bring it down.
Right.
Coach, what do you want here? Those kind of things. She really, for a player who in her freshman year didn't get as much playing time going into her sophomore year as you would expect someone to step up, she really stepped up. She played admirably, played well. And then Punkin, came out flaring in the first game, 31 against South Arkansas, and then throughout the rest of the year, double digits here, every time you needed a big game, you got it out of her. From LaShunty playing through pain and playing hurt and just being a warrior, and C doing everything she can, being really a matchup nightmare. A lot of times, could average a double-double when you needed her to, and then Jay as well too. You needed another post player. She said, yes, coach, let's go. We'll do it. Again, can't say thank you enough to those sophomores. And you talk about their growth, but I also think you got some freshmen in there who really showed a lot of growth as well too, and not just growth on the court. They had a lot of growth off the court as well too, and I think as a coach, that's ultimately what you want to see. Yes, it's about playing basketball, it's about winning basketball, but outside of that, it's about beyond basketball as well too, because most of these athletes, they're going to do other things outside of basketball once they leave here, and you want to be able to prepare them for success off the court as well as on the court.
Talking about that group of freshmen, maturity was kind of a thing for them all year. It was constantly a conversation for us. And hey, you've got to go to class and you've got to take care of your business and you've got to do these things. And at the beginning of the year, our freshmen didn't handle that very well. And if you look at how they grew throughout the course of the year, not only on the floor, but off the floor in those maturity things, they really did. They grew not only as players, kids like Alex Washington, who came in several times and gave us huge minutes. Kirsten Haynes was kind of a steady player for us all year. She came in and gave us minutes and contributed where she could. Cookie Wilkinson, we look at her first game with us versus her last game with us, and the amount of growth that she made in 10 or 12 games is unreal. So those freshmen did have a lot of growth, and that's part of being a college freshman. There is a huge amount of difference between a college freshman and a college sophomore, and I don't care what anybody says, that 1 year of college, that 1 year of life, of being an adult and being on your own makes a huge amount of difference. And so those kids moving forward and coming back, now you've got them as sophomores. They've got all this under their belt. You don't have to teach them those things. And that was what made this group of sophomores so valuable. Even though they didn't get a lot of minutes on the floor, they had that 1 year of college life under their belt, and that made a difference. I will say, I do wish a kid like Kayla Howard, I wish all those sophomores had another year, because how far did Kayla Howard come this year?
Oh, yeah.
How far could she go in another year? And we could say that about any of those sophomores, LaShunti Payne or Sierra Myers. We could say that about all of them. Look how much they grew this year, and look how much they'll grow when they get to be juniors and seniors. And hopefully they do that when they move on to play somewhere else. Hopefully they do continue to grow and develop as a player.
So lots of exciting things happening this past season for the Lady Wolves, and the future is very bright. We're looking forward to it, looking for a lot of high expectations in the coming years for the Lady Wolves. And as we move forward, again, we talked about those camps. Tune in to our Co-Lin Athletics social media, as well as the Lady Wolves basketball social media. All that information will be provided throughout up until the camp time. I think it's already been posted once. Yeah. We'll probably post it again. It's also going to be on the website on colinathletics.com. Coach, again, thanks for joining me. It's been a really fun season. I've loved talking basketball. I think it's been fun being able to give fans a different perspective and kind of hear from the coach every week. Of course, you give the halftime interviews, but we like to do this and just give everybody this allows you after the game to kind of really go back and kind of think things through and give your thoughts and perspective on things. So again, thanks for joining me all year.
You're welcome.
We'll do it again next year. Stick with us through the break coming up. Men's basketball, softball, baseball, all been in action, and we're going to talk all about that after the break. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And joining me is our head baseball coach, Adam Shambly. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And Coach, obviously it's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to talk. I had the spring break week last week. We didn't shoot the show then. So got a lot of baseball to talk about. We're going to try to blow through them as quick as we can. We're going to go all the way back to actually the week before spring break. We previewed these. You had that triple header non-conference with some conference opponents. You played Gulf Coast and Northwest. You split those. You lost to Gulf Coast 7-6, and you rebounded and beat Northwest. We'll talk about the Northwest game in a second. We'll start with the Gulf Coast game. Again, a game 7-6 where you led early. They mounted a comeback, were able to tie it. You still had some chances late, just weren't able to push those runs across. But your thoughts overall on that one?
It was awesome to jump out on those guys and kind of, I think we scored first and had the lead basically the whole game and felt like the game was pretty much in our control, but you also know, which it was a 7-inning game, so you kind of feel good about that too, shorter game. But with their offense, that something can happen really quickly. And I can't remember if we gave up a home run in that game or not, but they're the kind of team that can just, really quickly jump back into a ball game, and they were able to do that. And, we just got to find a way to maybe pitch it a little bit better towards the end and finish a game out, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about as we go through this, that it's kind of been a tough part for us. And some of it, I'll be honest, is maybe some bad luck. We've had some tough luck, some things, the ball not bounce our way in a sense. And, but, it's part of it.
Yeah. You look at this when you run through the box score real quick. You were up 5-1 after 2. They scored 1 in the third, made it 5-2, and then they tied it with 3 in the fifth, scored 2 in the sixth, and then the Wolves only scored 1 in the sixth, and then held scoreless in the seventh. So that's where you get 7-6 from. You also look at, you talked about the pitching. You used 4 in this one. Lucas Harrington started, pitched really well until he got in a little bit of some trouble there. He gave up 5 runs, 3 of those earned, 4 1/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. He did give up 1 home run. I think that was in the fifth inning possibly when they tied the game. Jaden Duncan pitches 2/3 of an inning, doesn't give up any runs or hits, walk and a strikeout. Connor Pittman took the loss in relief because he gave up the 2 runs in the sixth and pitched that 1 inning, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, and then Bolin came in, scoreless inning of relief and just 2 hits. So you look at the pitching lines, not terrible from a lot of those guys, but I think using Connor and Andon, I don't think y'all were planning to do that day. I think you were saving them for the weekend, those kind of things, but you had to go to them, and unfortunately that's what's happened. But if there's good news out of that, and there is good news, is again we talked about you split on the day. You faced Northwest later on in that day after they had played Gulf Coast, and you won that one 4-3. And I think the biggest thing in this one was Kobe Gallat pitched an absolute gem of a game, even though he gave up a game-tying 3-run home run in the sixth, bounced back, finished out that inning really strong, and then came back out in the seventh and finished even stronger. And your guys jumped out. Jumped out early on this one too. Thoughts on that one and how great it was able to see your guys be able to rebound from kind of a heartbreaking loss in that first one, but were able to rebound and pick up a win on the day.
Right, like you said, Gallat kind of set the tone for us. On the mound, did a great job. Has done and another guy we'll talk more about as we go because he's done such an awesome job the last few weeks. But yeah, that's a big win over a quality Northwest team. Especially giving up the home run to tie, and that's another thing that's kind of bit us a little bit, has been the long ball that we've given up that have tied games or gotten people right back in them. But we were able to obviously come out on top, and can't ever complain about winning a baseball game.
Right. You look at that one, you scored 1 in the first, 1 in the third, 1 in the fifth. You're up 3-0. As I mentioned, Gallat gives up the game-tying 3-run home run in the sixth. But the guys were able to rebound from that, get the go-ahead, eventually winning run in the fourth, and then Gallat came in and slammed the door in the seventh. You look at his line, 6 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned, no walks, 9 strikeouts. A really solid line there from Kobe. You look at the box score of hitters, 6 hits, led by a kid we're probably going to talk a lot about because he's just been seeing the ball, probably swinging one of the hottest bats, if not the hottest bat on the team, probably one of the hottest bats in conference, Hagen Combe. He went 2 for 2 in this one, and he has just been anything that's been in the box, in the zone, he's finding a way to put a barrel on it. And even if he's getting out, he's putting the ball in play lots of times for you.
He's even barreling some balls out of the zone. That's one thing about him is he does a great job of finding the barrel. Whether it's in the zone, slightly out of the zone, he finds a barrel, or at least here recently he has.
So you move forward and you go to the Saturday before spring break, before you start your conference play. You play your final non-conference games and you get a big sweep of a Kankakee team who we previewed them. They've won a national title here in the last 4 or 5 years, so they've got a rich tradition. They're a very solid team, but it was just a dominating doubleheader performance out of your guys. You beat them 8-2, 7-1. Your thoughts overall on that performance that day?
I thought that might have been the best overall day of baseball we've had all year. We swung the bats. It was those kind of days make your job as a coach really, really easy. You're standing over there watching your guys just hit ball. We hit multiple triples that day, I think, which was always – everybody loves to see a good triple. But, no, it was an awesome day. Swung the bats really well, obviously pitched it really well, just played a great day of baseball all the way through. And felt really good about it leading into conference play. It's man, we're playing good baseball at the right time. Things are kind of clicking and, and they still are. It's just it's a tough league we play in.
So you look at game one, you got a gem of a performance out of Andon Bolin, 6 innings, 2 runs, both of those unearned, 3 hits. Little high on the walks, 5. I know you'd like to see him get that number down, but 8 strikeouts. So even though he was high on the walks, he was also able to be efficient on the strikeout side. D. Morgan came in, gave you 2 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 strikeout, and then Wade Barr able to close it out. Scoreless inning, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts out of Barr. You had 13 hits as a team in game one, 2 from BB, 2 from J.D. Weed, 2 from Isaac McClinty. Jordan McKenzie led the way with 3. So lots of guys with multi-hit days there in game one. And then in game two, it's 7-1, and you got a complete game out of Connor Pittman. Connor probably, I'd argue, probably his most efficient start he's had. Just 1 hit, 1 run. It was unearned. 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So the strikeout number not there where you're used to seeing it, but on a day when, he maybe didn't have his fastest or his best stuff, again, probably his most efficient outing on the year. Talk about the pitching performances in both of those games as well, too, because, obviously it helps when you've got big leads. You were up 7-0 in game one, and it was 6-1 after 3 in game 2. So anytime your starters go out there and your guys are really piling up multi-run innings, it helps them obviously. But when the guys are throwing as well as they were for these 2 games, it makes things a lot easier too.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the strikeout numbers, with Pittman, which we'd love to see. Everybody loves to see a strikeout, but he's also an out's an out. Right. So he doesn't have to go out there and punch out every single guy. We gave him an early lead, and I think he obviously felt comfortable there and was able to pitch and just get outs, and our guys made plays. So, I don't ever want any of our pitchers to feel like, hey, I have to always go for the strikeout. Right. A lot of times when you do that, the pitch count is going to get up. We'd rather, ground out, pop out, ground out. Right. Hey, that 3 to 5 pitch inning or 6 pitch, whatever the case may be, that's a great inning. It doesn't have to all be punch out. So, and then Bolin's performance, you have kind of seen that with him, the walks getting up there at times, but he's obviously hard to hit. Guys do not see his fastball great. I mean, I think people are only hitting opposing batting average against him's less than 200 right now, I think. So he's definitely effective. We just, want him to pound the strike zone a little more, but those are things we continue to work on.
Right. I think Bolin leading the team in ERA as well, too. It's under 2. And it would surprise me if he's not one of the 3 best in opponent average if he's not leading it as well. You look at the hitters real quick. Tucker Jones led the way, went 3 for 3. John David Weed, JD, went 2 for 2. Jordan McKenzie, 2 for 3. Only 8 hits in that one, but you still find a way to score 7 runs. So then you get into to conference play. Last week, you had to go on the road for both of them. You get a split against the Bulldogs. Make sure we're giving the right information there. You dropped game 1. You rebounded 1 game 2. Your thoughts overall on that doubleheader? I know game 1 was a little bit rough, but thoughts overall on that one?
They jumped out. I think they jumped out first in that one.
No, actually, we scored first. We scored 1 run in the second, and then they took the lead. We'll run through the scoring real quick. My bad. They took the lead in the third with 2 runs, then scored 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and that made it 4-1. And then your guys scored 2 in the sixth, and you're making a 1-run game. And then the bottom of the sixth happened. That's kind of where things unraveled. They scored 8 in the bottom of the sixth, made it 12-3. Guys rebounded. Didn't score in the 7th or 8th, but scored 3 in the 9th and really had a chance to keep that inning going. And then, unfortunately, a couple of ground ball outs or a couple of outs there kind of stymied all that momentum. You watching that one while the Lady Wolves were hosting the Lady Bulldogs. I'll get my words out here in a second. I was kind of going back and forth. And I was like, man, the guys may find a way to pull this one out, maybe get a big inning too, but momentum was stopped. But again, overall, your thoughts on that one? Again, you had the early lead, you let it go, but the guys, I think, still showed great resiliency even though they lost by 6.
Yeah, our guys have done that all year, as far as just battling back and continuing to play the game and not letting other things affect us. In that one, like you said, I think the 6th inning happened. But they even, Gulf Coast even tried to let us back in it. They had some guys that came out that did not pound the strike zone. They tried to let us back in the game, and we didn't, quite take advantage of those opportunities. But once again, they're a good offense, and we didn't pitch it as well as we would have liked to, but it just kind of felt like in that one they just beat you a little bit.
Right. You look at the lines for the pitchers. D. Morgan got the start in that one. Roughed up a little bit, 3 1/3, 2 hits, 3 runs, all those earns, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. Jaden Duncan pitches 2 innings, and unfortunately he was the inheritor of the big inning. Right. You look at his line, 2 innings, 5 hits, 9 runs, 7 of those earned, 2 walks and a strikeout. Gave up a pair of home runs as well, too. Unfortunately for Jay Duncan, this one, it felt like Bulldogs were just seeing the ball really well against him. And then Caleb Flynn pitches 2 2/3, scoreless relief, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts. So, for Flynn, that's something that you can grow on. For D. Morgan, that's something that he's maybe we're going to talk about in a little bit. Maybe he's turned the page on that after his performance this past Tuesday. Again, we're going to talk about that in a few moments. And for J Dunk, I think you look at this one and go, all right, I didn't have my best day. Flush it, move on. I'm going to be okay despite one big inning.
And it's kind of coming back to me now that this game was over a week ago or whatever. But and I told the team, and I think I told Duncan that we probably shouldn't have let him face the 2 big left-handers, because he just doesn't match up with lefties quite as well. Not that he can't get them out, but it's just a tougher matchup for him. So we probably should have done something different there, maybe Flynn or whoever. But you live and you learn, and I think we kind of did that for the next one.
Right. So you look at the next one again, a game where you took the lead first. You scored first in the second. You scored 1, you're up 1-0. They took the lead back. They scored 2 in the fourth, so they're up 2-1. Then you score 3, you're up 4-2. They score 2 and tied. It's a tie ball game, 4-4 going in the sixth, and the guys Gulf Coast kind of couldn't find the zone. I think in that 3-run inning, you went like walk, hit by pitch. Well, it was just a bunch of things that as it's happening for you, you're loving it. Although I think I told somebody I think the first 2 runs we scored, we didn't put a ball in play.
Right. Yeah.
And as the coach that's happening for you, going yes, all right, and you got to look over at Gulf Coast, and they're probably scratching their heads, going, what's going on here?
Right.
Why can't we find the zone? But you'll take it. You score 3 runs, and that gives you that 7-4 lead. Another gem from Kobe Galat. Another complete game win, back-to-back complete game wins for him. 7 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 2 walks, and a career-high 13 strikeouts. He did give up 2 home runs, but a masterclass of a pitching performance, I think, from Kobe. I didn't get to see that one because, like I said, y'all were on the road, and Lady Wolves were hosting the Lady Bulldogs. But, your thoughts overall on how well Kobe did in this one and really kind of kept their bats silent throughout the whole game.
Yeah, he did a great job of keeping I've talked about the lefties. They've got a couple big left-handed hitters, especially, with their ballpark. It's a short porch in right, and you never know when, a guy can almost pop it up, and it gets out. It's just, that's their field, and that's kind of what they play to, and I would as well if I was in their shoes. But he did a great job keeping the big left-handers off balance. He made one mistake on, I think, a slider, which we went back and looked at video, and that ball was extremely inside. I don't know how the catcher, the Mark kid, I don't know how he even got to it, but he did a great job, great piece of hitting to hit it out. But no, Galat was awesome. So it was really good to see.
You also look at the hitters real quick. You had 7 hits as a team. 4 of those came from Tucker Jones and Hagan Combe, both 2 for 3. Hagan led the team in RBIs with 3. So, again, Hagan, we talked about just seeing the ball really well. I really think in all the games we talked about, I think there's only been one time where he hasn't gotten a hit, gotten on base, found a way to keep an inning going or score a run. So then you go to this past Saturday, a little bit fresher. We're getting closer to where we are now. You take a sweep from the Rangers sweep you in this one, but one of them was really close. They walked it off in extra innings in game 1, and then that one was 7-6. Game 2, they were able to keep that momentum going and won that one 6-2. But we'll talk about the first game there. Just an absolute battle. Watching that one while the Lady Wolves were hosting the Lady Rangers, we were going back and forth and showing people at home. We were doing live look-ins when we could, those kind of things. But your thoughts overall on that series?
Well, starting with the first game, was just a heartbreaker, really. I think we're down 5-1, and it kind of feels like their game for the longest time doesn't. We're not showing a ton of signs of coming back, but then we finally do, and we take the lead. I guess 6-5, we take the lead, and we go out there for the bottom of the ninth with Wade Barr on the mound, and he looks great, punches the first two guys out, and 0-0 count, and a guy sitting on a fastball and hits it out to left center to tie the game, and you just kind of, it takes the wind out of you. Not that it's a tie game, and we still have to continue to play and jump back, and hey, we still have a chance to win this game, but. Really, really tough there, and then they end up walking it off in the bottom of the 11th. But I love the fact that we've shown so many times this year that we can bounce back, and we're just going to continue to play the game. Right. But it just you want to see those end up turning out on the positive side for you, and when it does, it's some of them are heartbreakers. Baseball will do that to you.
Yeah, I think if you had to use a couple of words to describe this team, grit and resiliency. They show a lot of that each week and each series. And a funny tidbit about this one, we talked about it the other day, was paying attention on Game Changer, watching a little bit while the softball games were going on. I looked over at one point on Game Changer, and it said Jaden Duncan was getting in that bat. And I told y'all, I said I looked and went, and I looked again, and I was like, he doesn't hit. Yeah. So a little bit of a unique circumstance there. And I think even people who were watching the stream, they were telling me, they said their broadcaster goes, Jaden Duncan doesn't have any hitting stats this year. Yeah. And in the back of my mind, I was like, because he's never done it in his 2 yees. So got an official plate appearance and got hit by it. So I told somebody, I said, he still has no official at-bats in his career. Yeah. So has a plate appearance, but no at-bats. But, he took the loss in this one, a hard loss to take because they get the walk-off single against him. That was an unearned run as well, too. Right. So, that's a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow, is the fact that the winning run was not one that they earned. It was something that you could have prevented, those kind of things too. But then you look at game two, and you had some chances in this one. You had an early lead there, 2-0, weren't able to maintain it, and they rebounded and won 6-2. Connor Pittman pitched in this one, a little bit of a rough outing for him. 6 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs, 5 of those earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. So a game where it was 2-2 for a while. In the 6th inning, they scored 4, and so that's kind of the part that maybe makes it feel a little bit sour, is because you were playing so well, and it was just kind of one inning that undid everything for you.
Yeah, they're a scrappy bunch. I mean, offensively, they've they'll kind of. They're obviously a good team, but it's not I think they did hit 2 home runs on the day, but that's not really their game. I mean, they just get in there, and they have a lot of guys that'll kind of single you to death. They just get on and get on and get on, and don't make the at-bats easy at all. So that's kind of what they did in that one. And I thought their starting pitcher did a really good job. I mean, nothing was, necessarily overpowering or anything like that, but he got in there and pitched and kind of kept us off balance, and didn't seem like we could do – I felt like we could have gotten to him a little more than we did. We just didn't. Right. So a tough day for us, but like I told our players, if we thought that we were going to play a 28-game conference schedule – and not get swept by somebody at some point, then probably a little unrealistic, for us, because not many teams in our league will play the entire conference schedule and not get swept one day. I mean, it's 2 games in one day, and it's really hard to turn around 30 minutes after you just lost a gut-wrenching game and get ready to play the next one. But you have to do that. But it's not easily done. Right. So. You just keep playing baseball.
Yeah, as I tell people, it's really hard to get sweeps when you're the team that sweeps. A split on any day, you'll take it all day, just because that means, hey, you didn't win both, but at least you got one, right. and you're able to say, hey, we got one on the day. We dropped one, but we got one on the day. We'll take it all day. So, right. And that's what we're going to talk about here. A split against the nationally ranked Jones Bobcats, number 10 Bobcats, come into this one, and you're thinking, hey, if we can take one from them, that's going to be a great day. And you got the one in the first game in walk-off fashion, an absolute thrilling gem of a game, I think. But your thoughts overall on game 1 against the Bobcats?
Yeah, I mean, it was D. Morgan pitched his tail off. Best outing he's had by far all year, and I think he proved that what he can do, you know, and I don't know the punch out numbers and all that, but he got in there and pitched, and he had 3 pitches for a strike, and it's like we tell our guys all the time, if you can do that, yes, easier said than done to go in there and throw 3 pitches for a strike every time you pitch, but if you can do that consistently, then you got a chance against anybody, man. Right. And I think that's what happened in that game. You know, he had those pitches and did a great job. And we swung the bat against a really good left-handed arm in Bo Bryan's. I mean, you know, so we played really well, and it felt like our game the whole time. And then 5-1 the whole game, and then we give up 4 in the top of the ninth. Right. Just trying to, you know, kind of trying to do too much. Maybe I know Lucas fielded the slow roller and threw it up the first baseline that scored 2 runs. You know, so that makes it 5-3, and then it's second and third with 2 outs. And once again, we have Duncan in there, and I thought they did a great job of putting in a left-handed hitter. Right. You know, so them knowing that Duncan does not match up with the lefty great, and so they put the left-handed pinch hitter in. He hits the single to tie the game, and but you know, once again, it's baseball, and you're playing a good team. But in this one, instead of finding a way to, yes, they tied it up, and it kind of been the story of some things that we've done all year, or a couple times this year. Instead of finding a way to lose this one, we just continue to play and find a way to win it with the sac fly in the bottom of the 11th. You know, so it was kind of a crazy game, and you wish that it would have been as smooth as, hey, 5-1, and the 9th inning goes 1, 2, 3, and we're all happy, but a win's a win, right? So we'll take it.
Right. You look at this one. You scored 1 in the 3rd, 4 in the 5th. That highlighted by a bases clearing triple by Hagen Combe. I joked with him about that one after. I said, you watch. If you go back and watch it, you can see he's running right behind Tucker. They're just following each other. And Hagen told me, he said, yeah, when I saw it go by the right fielder, he said, I thought I could get a double. He said, I saw it go by the guy. He said, I might can get a triple out of this. So he was putting them up and picking them up, putting them down, as we like to say. He was getting around the bases, and that really was kind of what propelled you. And then, like you mentioned, 1 run in the 8th for the Bobcats. That was a leadoff home run against D. Wade Fulton hit that. Yeah. Wade was responsible for the only 2 hits that D gave up in the whole game, and D didn't give up a hit till the 6th inning. So he pitched 5 innings of no-hit baseball. We'll give you his line in just a moment. And then 4 in the 9th for them. You mentioned it. And then in the bottom of the 11th, you load the bases with 1 out, and Isaac McClinty, who earlier in the game got robbed of an RBI. I mean, he put one, absolutely barreled a ball up, and the second baseman made a great diving play on it, going away from him. You know, you're watching, and that run did come across the score eventually, but man, you just, you know, if Isaac's able to get on and you're able to keep the momentum going in that inning, or you may be able to score more and it doesn't go into extras, but you know, you got to feel good for Isaac being able to deliver what is ultimately the game-winning play. Not a hit, but still a game-winning RBI. But we'll talk about the hitters as well too. Tucker Jones led the way, going 3 for 5. Hagen Combe 2 for 4. Lucas Harrington 2 for 5. Jordan McKenzie 2 for 5. Those are all your multi-hit guys in a 13-hit game. And again, we've mentioned it, but it can't be said enough. D. Morgan, I put it in my write-up, best outing of his career so far in a Wolves uniform. Right. Longest outing, 7 in the 3rd innings, just 2 hits, 1 run, that being earned on that leadoff solo home run in the 8th. 2 walks and 9 strikeouts. You know, it just felt like every time you needed a big punch out, he was able to find it for you. Yep. So just a master class of pitching by D in this one, and that's something that I think going forward, you hope you can see more of it, because you know, we've seen it twice now. You saw it in that outing against Baton Rouge where he pitched really well. He's now done this one, so you know what D is capable of doing, and you're hoping that he can keep replicating those results and continue to have those. Caleb Flynn comes in, 1 in the 3rd innings, 1 hits, 4 runs, all of those unearned. Jaden Duncan, 2 innings. 2/3 of an innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 walk, and then Lucas Harrington gets the win in relief, 1 2/3, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts for Lucas. So a good job of Lucas coming into the game, because he had started at third base. So you were like, hey, Lucas, we need you to come in, and so you had to make a couple little transitions there, but it all paid out for you. And again, I think if you looked at all the pitchers, there's nothing that they did wrong. No. You know, they all had great outings. The 4-run inning, they just hit a couple of balls where your guys weren't. And of course, like we mentioned, the error by Lucas at third base, probably a ball he should have. that's one of those you go, I should have eaten it. I should have eaten it.
Right.
Shouldn't have thrown it, but he did, and the play happened, and you still won. But again, I think when pitchers go back and watch this film, they're going to go, yeah, I feel like I had a solid performance in this one.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody. I didn't think there were any bad pitching performances. Just like you said, just gave up some hits and some, a couple mistakes on our end. But I've been proud of Lucas coming in, like playing third base, and then we've used him. We used him on Saturday. We used him again on Tuesday in relief. So he's had to kind of answer the call as both sides of the ball as a hitter and a pitcher, and he's gotten in there and competed. It hasn't always been, it's not like his outings have just been lights out, but he's gotten the job done, and he's got up there, and he has competed.
Yeah.
So I've been proud and happy to see that.
The ultimate kind of team player and person you want on the team when, coach, as you the coach say, Lucas, I need you to do this. He says, okay, coach.
Right.
It may not be, like you say, it may not be perfect. It may not always be pretty, but it's efficient, and he's going to get the job done. And I think that's why you turn to him so much. As you mentioned, you can rely on the fact that the performance is going to be what you need it to be.
Right.
Again, may not be pretty, may not be perfect, but it's going to be what we need. And then you look at game 2, and the scoreline says 12-4. But again, that was one big inning. That was there at the end. But your thoughts overall on game 2, which felt very competitive until the 7th inning.
Yeah, it did. I know obviously, Kobe still pitched pretty well. Maybe not. And it's almost hard to expect him to pitch as well as he had the last 2 weeks. And he was, dealing, his arm maybe did not feel 100%, little tightness in there, but he still gave us a shot. I thought they swung the bats better this game than they did the first game, and I thought their starter, he was really, really good. Nothing dominant, nothing overpowering, but just like I just talked about with our guys, 3 pitches for a strike. Or 4. He had slider, curveball, changeup, and fastball, and threw all of them where he wanted to. And he was gonna make us beat him.
Right.
And anytime you do that, you'll have a shot. And I thought he did a great job of that. So one of the games that you kind of look at, it's like, man, they played better than us. It is what it is.
Right, and I think one thing, if there's something you want to circle, look at, and say we need to grow from this one, is it's probably that first inning. Had a chance for a multi-run inning, ran into a couple of outs on the base pass, and you only scored 1, but you had the lead after the first 1-0. They scored 2 in the second, 1 in the third, and that made it 3-1, then 4-1, and then 6-1 and going into the 6th, and then you'd score 2 in the 6th, and you're thinking, all right, we've given ourselves a chance. We just need to hang a 0 up here in the 7th, and it's a 3-run ball. We just got to find a way to score 3 in the 7th. Is that going to be hard? Yes, but it's doable. We've scored multi-runs this game, and we can do it, and we've done it in other games. But unfortunately, you give up 6 in the 7th, and that was an inning. It just felt like, and a lot of it, I think, came with 2 outs, and it was just like, man, we just can't find that last out. And you guys came out and still scored a run in the 7th and felt like we were getting some momentum, but then a couple of quick outs were able to end the game. So that's where you get 12-4. And you mentioned it, Kobe did pitch a complete game in this one. Unfortunately, takes the loss. And not a terrible line. Gave up 6 runs, 5 earned on 7 hits. That side of the line, not great. 3 walks, but the one thing that sticks out in a loss, he had 12 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And you talked about it. Arm may not have been feeling the best. It looked like he really was only throwing a couple of pitches up there and still got 12 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And you have to, as a pitcher, you kind of think, man, I took a loss and had 12 strikeouts. That's sometimes hard to swallow, but again, as we mentioned, that's just baseball.
It is, yeah. And then Bolin and Judson Griffin come out of the bullpen, and we've just got to get, I guess, a little better performances there. I don't know. Our bullpen's got to overall, not pointing the finger at one guy. There's been situations to where every guy almost that has been called in relief is we just got to get a little more consistent there and know what we're going to get. And when we, our starters can't pitch complete games every single time. Like, we are going to have the bullpen step up. So once again, just you keep playing and you keep working and you kind of try to iron those things out at practice and hope that it all clicks.
Right. So we'll flip the page. That's everything that we've played for the last couple of weeks. I know that was a lot of information for folks to digest. I hope we were able to present it in a timely manner for you, and everybody enjoyed that. But we'll talk about the one that you got coming up this Saturday, and then next week we'll talk about next week. But we'll focus on the one coming up. You get another game at home. You get to face off against the Tigers of Northeast Mississippi Community College, and admittedly I haven't been able to look much at them. But what do you know about them, Coach?
They're solid again, coming off of a regional appearance last year. I don't know that they're looking at the stats and stuff. Just obviously on paper, I don't think they're swinging the bats quite like they did last year, but they're going to have several good arms. I do know that. They're going to be another quality opponent. There's no they all are at this point.
Right.
So looking forward to it, and hopefully we can come out on top on both of them. That's always the goal.
Right. You look at it right now, and we talked about, you and I talked about it after the Kankakee games. Heading into conference play, you were 500, and the year before you were thinking, man, how do we get there? And this year going into it, you were there. So certainly this year feeling a lot better than your first year, and you're still battling for it right there. You're 2 games under 500 in overall in conference play, but it feels like, you're sitting there telling yourself, all we got to do is get one sweep. And that's very doable
Right.
in this league when you catch the right team and those kind of things. We talked about it's hard to get a sweep, but it's still doable.
Yeah.
So overall, you've got about, I think, 6 weeks left in conference play and those kind of things. And you've got to feel really good about where the team's sitting right now.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation the other day, we're 2-4, but we're 6 games in, obviously, making the playoff, and all the goals we have are still 100% achievable, and they're right there in front of us. We just got to go make it happen. I mean, nobody's gonna give it to you.
Right.
And like I told them, it's never gonna be easy. Nobody said it was gonna be easy. I don't think we would want it to be easy. But it's still all very doable. We just have to stay extremely focused in, preparing for teams and just controlling everything we can control. And then the scoreboard, the scoreboard takes care of itself. As long as we're doing what we can leading up to the days, practice time, whatever the case may be, as long as we're handling that, then the games, like I said, they'll take care of themselves. So I'm excited about the rest of the conference schedule. I'm excited to see, some of the other teams. And, it's always fun, whether you win or, it's just fun competing,
Right.
And I hope that our players feel that way because it's a fun league to play in.
Well, that'll wrap up our little lengthy baseball segment this week. Again, hopefully going forward, we won't have as much time in between games and those kind of things. Had that extended spring break, much needed time off, but the athletics continued as well. Wolves again in the first 6 games go 2-4 in conference play. A couple of splits. Those splits coming against the Bulldogs and the Bobcats this past Tuesday with the Bobcats, the nationally ranked number 10 Bobcats, and then a sweep at the hands of the Rangers. So coming up, again, Wolves will host Northeast this upcoming Saturday, Sullivan Field, 2 p.m. start time. If you can't make it, we'll have it on stream for you as well, too, but we hope to see you out at the park. Stick with us through the break. We've got men's basketball and softball coming your way after this. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Join me now is our men's basketball head coach, David Sanders. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, obviously we'll talk about the last 2 games. We'll kind of wrap up the season for you and just talk about everything. Obviously, you wrapped up the regular season. You hosted Meridian, and you won that one 85-79. Your thoughts kind of on that one? I know it's been a couple weeks since we played that one, but you were able to give your sophomore nights. You honored your 2 sophomores. You were able to give them a win going out. Just talk about how you feel about the guys played in that one.
Well, I thought we played pretty well, and now Maria's a really tough team. They always are. James Green does a great job with them, and they really scrapped and fought. And I thought we made enough plays down the stretch to get the win. It's hard to get 85 points on Meridian because they play so hard, but to be able to do that, I thought it was a big win for us.
So, and you look at this one, you look at the box, Meridian actually held a 1-point lead at half, 43-42, and then you outscored them 43-36 in the second. That's where you get the 85-79 total from, and you look at it, and it was kind of what you expect out of your bunch. I think the one thing that was kind of maybe unexpected was the night that Avon Johnson had. Avon really rang the bell for you on his sophomore night. He really stepped up. He had a double, had 20 points and 11 rebounds, and it just kind of felt like this was a night when Avon was shooting really well. He really was feeling it, and you could kind of tell from the get-go he felt like he was going to have a good night.
Yeah, well, he told me he lost his senior night in high school. So he said, Coach, I'm not losing sophomore night tonight. I know what that it feels like. So he came out and played really well. He was very, very focused going into the game. And you could tell he showed up on the floor. He kind of dominated on both ends as far as rebounding and scoring. So, he had a really big night for us.
So you also look at it, E-Man missed a double-double by 1 rebound. He had 19 points, 9 rebounds. Cortarius Scott had 19 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. So just what you expect out of those two, an all-around good game from E-Man, narrowly missing the double-double, and then just what Court does, what Court has always done all year, just has a nice, solid game. Gets you a lot of points, but also gets you some boards and some assists as well, too.
Yeah, the guys, did what they do. Of course, both of them all conference guys, and you can pretty much book them down for their stats every game. And I thought they had a really, really great year, both of them being freshmen. So I'm looking forward to great things for them next year.
So, and then you hosted the first round of the region tournament. This one didn't go the Wolves' way, unfortunately. You hosted Baton Rouge. You dropped that one 70-65. And, just from being at that one, it just kind of felt like it just wasn't the guys' day. It felt like every time they made a big play, Baton Rouge was able to make a counter to that play. It really kind of felt like a heavyweight boxing match in many ways. There was a punch, and for every punch, there was a counter punch thrown. But your thoughts on that one overall?
Well, it's funny, Kel. Had a conversation with somebody I trust about basketball, and they were, trying to just get me to understand taking accountability as a coach. And it was just funny to me because, I'm looking at Baton Rouge, and they got a point guard that's about 5'7". They got 4 offensive rebounds. And I'm like, how do you take accountability for that? Like, what can I do about a guy that just wants it a little bit more than you do? And I felt like that was just a microcosm of that whole game. It just felt like Baton Rouge was playing for something that we wasn't playing for. You know what I'm saying? I think it was kind of a trap game for us. Winning there, going into Jones. Might have been looking ahead a little bit. Me guilty of that probably too as well. But, I think basketball is about players. It's always been about players. Of course, coaches matter, but I think it's a player's game, and players got to make the free throws. Players got to go out there and make the plays that win. All I can do is put you in position. So I thought we were in position to win that game. I thought it was big when Ishmael Rasheed fouled out and got that technical foul. They kind of changed the momentum for us, and in a very tight game. So, but Baton Rouge, you give them credit. Coach Stark's a great coach. He did a great job at LSU for the last couple of years, and that's a team we beat early in the year pretty handily. And that's just kind of just one of those trap games where you kind of take it for granted because you've already beat them and you got them at home. So, it was just a perfect storm for us. It seemed like I keep running into the perfect storm in the region every year. So we got to try to fix that next year. But at the end of the day, I thought the guys did scrap and fight, and I thought, Baton Rouge just had a better night than us.
So you look at the box score. Baton Rouge held the lead 32-31 at halftime, and they kind of came out and were hot to start the second half, but the guys responded. But ultimately, they outscored you 38-34, and that's how you get the 70-65. Loss there for the Wolves. But you look at it, and again, 3 names that we've talked about a lot. We'll start with Cortarius Scott led all scorers, had 23 points. A little down on the rebounds and assists from what you used to, just 2 and 1 from him. But E-Man finishes his freshman year with a double-double, 14 and 12 out of him. Again, what you expect out of him. And then Devin Carter had 12 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 2 steals. So the 3 guys who you've kind of depended on all year really were the 3 that did a lot of the scoring for you and made a lot of plays for you on this one. It just felt like maybe you needed a little more out of the supporting cast for those guys.
Yeah, I thought Baton Rouge supporting cast really came through and gave some big plays. I thought we had some guys we normally depend on to make big plays for us that struggled a little bit. Like, so we just started talking about Avon Johnson. I think it may be one of his worst games of the year. And so in those situations, getting the playoffs, man, you got to be clicking on all cylinders. You need everybody playing their best, and if you're not, it's going to really make it tough for you to get over that hump in the playoffs. And you saw some really close games, tough games. I think Jones nicked Holmes by one. You know,
Yeah.
just it comes down to every single play mattering. And I thought in that game we had several plays we wish we could have got back, but like I said, hats off to Baton Rouge. I thought they did a great job, and they even went over and had a good game with Jones. So you know they're a really good team. They're on the uptick. You know, Coach Sark's gonna really get that thing going over there, and you know, and but like I said, I'm proud of the guys. They fought all year, 16 wins. Well, we had 18 last year as the league champion. So, you know, it was a solid year. You know, especially to have so many freshmen. And you know, I'm looking forward to next year.
Right, you look at that, and you just mentioned it. You finished 16-11, 8-6 in conference. Back-to-back years, you're above 500 in both of those categories. After the first year, where you know it wasn't that successful, you had a lot of games where you could have won them, but you couldn't finish them out. Those kind of things. But you have to like the fact that for 2 years in a row, you've now finished above 500 in conference play. And you look at it this year. Couple of bounces go your way, couple of things happen here and there. You're right there in the hunt for the conference championship again as well too. So you got to know going into next year, knowing that you've got all those freshmen and a solid recruiting class coming in, you've got to like your chances going forward.
No doubt. Like I said, I just say it all the time. It's a game of inches. And I had to go back and look at it. Even last year, we had so many close wins. And I think Northeast was kind of the team this year that had that going for them. You know, we led them the whole game, and they took the lead in the last 30 seconds. So, you know, a couple of those games, the Northeast game, the Jones game, the Southwest game, we get a couple of those back. You know, we're in a totally different position. So, you know, but that's basketball, man. Especially in a tough league like this, you never really know, but you gotta get over the hump when it comes to making those small plays, because 1 or 2 wins can be the difference in the league, as you clearly see. So, but yeah, we're definitely excited about next year. We've signed some really good recruits, got some new guys coming in, got some guys coming back that I feel like going to be a lot better. And so I'm looking forward to you know, getting stuff. We've already got started in the weight room and workout. So I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing these new guys come in and having a chance to, you know, really put a great team on the floor again. And I'm also proud of the guys that played and the ones that'll be leaving and going on to other schools and stuff. You know, wish them all the best.
Right. Definitely want to say a big thank you to our 2 sophomores from this year. They came in, only had them for 1 year. I think if you had it your way, you'd love to have them for 2, but you're happy that you had them for 1, that being Yvonne Johnson and Devin Carter, both of them having great sophomore years for the Wolves. And we look forward to seeing what the future holds in store for them. And again, as you mentioned, that crew of freshmen, you have a lot of them come back, and look forward to what year 2 holds for them as well too. And then, of course, you'll have tryouts coming out, I'm assuming, as well too. I think we've got all that information we're gathering. Yeah, we're going to put it out for everybody to see. I know that's coming up here within the next couple of weeks or so. And then, of course, we'll have some summer camps and those kind of things as well too. I know Coach Stevens talked about you're going to do a kids camp at some point. I know the last couple of summers you've done the team camps as well too. Again, all of our social media channels will have that information for folks once we get it all prepared, once we get it all ready to put out there for folks. So pay attention to the Co-Lin Athletics social media channels. Coach will always share that stuff as well too on his personal social media as well too. So, but that will wrap up our final men's basketball segment of the year. It seems like it got here quickly. You know,
Definitely.
I joke with people and I say, man, we start back in October and we're finishing up in March. I said, but there's about a month there where we don't play. So, you know, you do get a little bit of an extended break, but the 23-24 season wraps up. Wolves finish at 16-11 overall, 8-6 in MACCC play, and then turn the page and look forward to next year. Coach, thanks for joining me this year. We'll look forward to next year and look forward to the bright future ahead for the Wolves. Again, that'll wrap it up. Coming up, our final segment, Coach Malia Howard from the softball team will come and join us, and we'll talk about all the exciting action that the Lady Wolf softball has had in the last couple of weeks. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us. And our final segment is going to be all about Lady Wolf softball. And joining me is our head coach, Malia Howard. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
And Coach, obviously a roller coaster of a last few week and a half. We'll go all the way back to this last Monday, the Monday of spring break. You went over to Florida, went over and played Rock Valley College and Northwest Florida State. For people who are a little maybe unfamiliar with softball at our level, Rock Valley College, only their second year in D2. They were D2 last year, made the World Series, made the National Tournament World Series after winning 7 or 8 D3 national championships. So a solid team you faced there, and you got to win over them 7-5. Jumped out early. They tried to come back for you. You were able to hold them off. Talk about that game as well as the Northwest Florida game. You lost that one. You had an early lead, let that one go, and then couldn't finish off the comeback. But talk about that experience going over there.
Well, it's always a good trip to go to the beach. We got to go and stay in a hotel on the beach. The girls got a little beach time. Probably not as much as they would have liked. But it was really good. Like you said, Rock Valley's a quality opponent. So it's good to play them. We started off really good. And then we kind of let up. And next thing you know, Rock Valley's trying to come back. So, the biggest thing from that game that we talked to our girls about was, hey, we started out hot and we kind of got to a complacency point and we stopped. We got to keep going. And, Taylor Efferson got the start in that game. I thought she did really well. But once they started to get on her, we had to change it up a little bit. Went to Laney. Laney had a decent outing. Ended up having to go to Keegan. And Keegan came in and, no pressure. She just come in and did what she does and got the win in that one. And I thought that was a good win. Game 2, we started Kara against Northwest Florida. A very good team. Kara did a phenomenal job. Again, kind of the same way, we got up, but we didn't keep answering. And we were steadily getting runners on base, just couldn't get them in when we needed to. So I was pleased. I thought we handled our own down there. Some things we could have done better, but I was okay with that. I was okay with that game.
Yeah, and as we'll let people know, we talked a little bit about Rock Valley, but we'll also let you know Northwest Florida State, they're D1 softball, number 2 in the nation when we played them. I still think they're number 2. I didn't check the rank, so they are still ranked number 2, and they were the national runners-up last year as well too. So you mentioned quality opponent, just to let people know how quality of an opponent. They're just as good as when they came over here last year and we split with them, had that tremendous walk-off. And again, I tell people a lot last year, you point to a game where you kind of circle and go, this is a game that made a difference for that team. It was those. But you come back here, you come back to Lady Wolves Field, you get to host your first 2 conference games, and a little exciting, a little rocky at times, but you get sweeps against the Lady Bulldogs and against the Lady Rangers. We'll talk about the ones against the Lady Bulldogs first. You win the first one 5-4, and then you win the second one 8-7. You had to walk that one off in the bottom of the ninth. We'll talk about the second game in a second, but we'll talk about the first game first. Talk about that one and how you feel how that one played out.
Well, I can tell you, Gulf Coast definitely brought, they brought the energy. They brought their bats with them. I was proud of our girls for staying in that because, it was constantly up and down, back and forth. Their pitcher did a really good job of keeping us off balance. We weren't able to square her up a whole lot. Their defense played solid behind her. I was pleased with them as well. I think they're a pretty solid team. But yeah, we stayed in it the whole entire game. We have made some defensive changes here and there, trying to tweak a few things, trying to get our best hitters in the lineup. So a couple of times we were a little caught off guard in some different spots than they are used to. But again, Kara pitched a really good game. And we got enough runs to win the game.
You look at this one, it was 1-0 after the second. Gulf Coast scored a pair in the third, took a 2-1 lead. They scored another one in the fifth. That made it 3-1. You scored one in the sixth. That made it 3-2. They match you, score one in the sixth, makes it 4-2. And then the big inning for the Lady Wolves was the bottom of the sixth inning, really punctuated by the 2-run home run by Abby Grace Richardson. That might have been one of my favorite calls that I've made so far this year. AG got one. As it was a wall scraper, but hey, it still counts as a home run.
That's
and
right,
it ended up being the game-winning hit for that one. So that was a run for AG there. She is the reigning MACCC Player of the Week, but she hit 3 home runs in 3 straight games. She reached base in every game played this week, finished with 4 for the week. So a great week for AG, but you look at this one, she was your leading batter along with Carson Huey. Both had 2 hits there. AG led the team with 2 RBIs. And you mentioned it, Kara got the complete game, gave up 12 hits. That's a little abnormal for her. That Gulf Coast hit the ball really well. 4 runs, all of those earned 1 walk, 8 strikeouts for Kara in that one. And then you look at game 2, and this one was a little bit crazy.
A little bit.
We talked about it. You played 9 innings. You get the walk off. We'll go in more detail about that in a little bit. But just talk about this game and just talk about like how it was a very fun atmosphere. I thought it's an atmosphere a lot of times you'll see in the playoffs. Maybe not the first regular season conference game, but it feels like this is a game that'll pay dividends later on in the year.
Yeah, I mean, this game was crazy for sure. I think defensively, we were not very clean. We've got to clean that up a little bit. But again, our girls never gave up. At one point, it was 7-2. 7-2, and they never quit. They never gave up, and they just kept fighting back, and we got some stops, on offense for them to shut it down a little bit, and we were able to come back and get the win. So that was huge. So I was proud of our girls for the fight. That seems to be our deal this year. We like to make it interesting and come back in the end.
That's a theme. If you're paying attention, you'll see that a lot more. You look at this one, 2-0 after the first. Kind of felt like maybe you could have got a little more, but you take that two-run lead. Then they scored 4 in the third, and it was just kind of a series of we talked about it after the games. It was Keegan got the start for you this one. She looked really sharp in those first 2, and then the next 3 batters kind of all get just kind of little Texas League singles. You hit it where they weren't, or they hit it where we weren't, and that kind of snowballed a little on her. And then they scored 3. That made it 7-2. Your girls respond 7-5 after 3 runs in the 4th. You hold them scoreless. You score 2 more in the 6th. That ties it up. And then you have the winning run on base in the 7th, and you can't push it across. The 6th inning there, you had that game-winning or game-tying hit by Taylor Efferson. Tip your cap to the Gulf Coast center fielder on that diving catch there, but she wasn't able to secure it and made the let the tying run come across. And I think probably one of the biggest plays was there in that 7th inning. They got the go-ahead run on first base. And, we talk about her a lot, but this play is one that you highlight. You say this is probably one of the best plays she's made in her 2 years here. Abby Grace Richardson recognizes that the runner on first is going all the way. She's trying to go first to third on a ball that was hit right at Taylor Efferson. Taylor fields it, fires over to first. AG wins the foot race to third base and doubles off the runner. And so you went from really good positioning for Gulf Coast to now you feel really good because you've got 2 outs on the board and you just got to get 1 more and you're going to the bottom of the 7th.
Right, and not to mention that was a perfect throw by Zai. I mean, she's throwing to a target on the run, on the move. She nailed that throw, and AG was able to beat the runner and put the tag on her while she was moving. So it was an incredible play for sure. Yeah, and it was a big play. We needed it.
I talked about it on the stream. I said one thing that probably will go unnoticed is the fact that AG's momentum was carrying her towards the base. She full stopped her momentum and went the other way. That's not easily done.
No.
You don't normally beat physics there. But then you get to the bottom of the 9th. You get everything that you want it your way. You have everything go your way. Kenley Ainsworth comes up. You got a batter right there at third base. All you got to do is get a base hit. She comes through, gets a walk-off single, and you walk away with an 8-7 win and a sweep. And a big sigh of relief because you escaped on that one.
Yes, for sure. A sigh of relief.
So, and then we go to this past Saturday. You host the number 8 Lady Rangers out of Northwest. You sweep them with a pair of identical 9-4 victories. Do want to go back and make sure we tell people on the starters, on the pitching, Keegan McCorkle gets the start. She went 3 innings. 4 hits, 5 runs, 5 all earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Taylor Efferson, I think, is another hero of this game. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. And then Kara gets the win. You brought her in the 8th and 9th, and all she did was give up 1 hit and strike out 4, and she struck out 4 of the last 5 batters she faced.
Yeah,
so,
I think Kara was better coming in game 2 than she was in game 1, so I was proud of her for that.
Yeah, I was watching her. I think we talked about it on the stream. I said, this is a very bold move, and we'll see if it paid off. And it definitely did. Kara looked very sharp. And I think that was a concern because you knew they had seen her so well in game 1. You're like, I hope this pays off. And it definitely did. But then, as I mentioned a second ago, Northwest, pair of 9-4 wins, had to come from behind in both of these as well, too. Erased another big deficit. I think it was in game 2. But talk about this sweep.
Again, I'm just proud of our girls for constantly fighting throughout the game, and that's the big thing that we're talking about this year is we can't just play really good 1 or 2 innings. We have to play solid offensively and defensively throughout the game. And our goal is to try to score every single inning. That's our goal. And we're doing really well about getting runners on base almost every single inning. Sometimes we're just not getting them in every single inning. But I am proud of them for having good at-bats and being consistent throughout the game.
Right, and you look at this one. Lady Rangers took that early lead, 1-0 after the top half of the second, but then your girls explode for 6 runs, and it's now a 6-1 lead. And then you really never have to look back. You scored 1 in the third, that made it 7-1. They scored 2 in the fourth, 7-3. 1 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, and they scored 1 in the sixth, and that's where you get the 9-4. So you look at this one, Kara, very sharp in this one. We talked about didn't look as sharp in game 1 against Gulf Coast. She looked the complete opposite in this one. Complete game, 8 hits, 4 runs, 2 of those earned, 3 strikeouts. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was close to her career high, or is their new career high of 11 strikeouts. So a very, very sharp game out of Biswell in this
Yes,
one.
I was proud of her. She was in control the whole entire game. She was spinning the ball really well, and defense at her back.
You look at it, you had 10 hits. Madison Moak, Abby Grace Richardson, Taylor Everson, Carson Huey, all with 2 hits apiece. So up and down the lineup, again, one of those games where you got production out of everybody in the lineup. And then in game 2, this is the one that kind of felt a little squirrely at first. They were up 1-0 after the first, 2-0 after the top of the third. Then you scored 3, and you're up 3-2. Then you score 1 in the fourth. You're up 4-2. They hit the 2-run home run in the fifth. That ties it at 2. And then in the bottom of the sixth, you score 5, and that kind of really put it away. But overall, your thoughts on game 2?
Again, just, their mindset of staying in the game, staying focused. We say, hey, if there's time still left, there's innings still left in this game, we don't give up. We got to keep going, And I don't know why, but sometimes we play our best game at the end of the game. Right. I don't know why we do that, but as long as we keep making it and finding a way to win, that's all that matters.
Right. And you look at this one, Keegan McCorkle, we talked about, struggled a little bit. Looked really good in those first couple innings against Gulf Coast, struggled the third inning. This one, she gets the complete game win. 4 runs, 3 of those earned, 7 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So a very efficient outing from Keegan as well, too. This one, again, 10 hits. Kinley Muldair, AG, Leah Phillips, Bailey Goodson, all with 2 hits apiece. So, again, another game where you just got, I think everybody in the lineup got either on base or had a solid at-bat. So another day where you feel good about, you looked good in the field and you looked good in the plate.
Absolutely.
So, and then we go to this past Tuesday. This is where things get real fun, real interesting, and 2 comebacks that you circle them and go, man, I don't know how we did it, but we did it, and we're glad that we did it. You get your second straight sweep of a top 8 ranked opponent, and you sweep the number 6 Lady Bobcats of Jones. You beat them 7-6 in game 1. They erased a 7th inning deficit, and then you beat them 13-11 in game 2, also erasing a 7th inning deficit. Your thoughts on that one, and just how crazy of a doubleheader this was?
Well, it was absolutely crazy. I told the girls after the game, I told them at the end, I guess going into the bottom of 7, I said, okay, let's go. Let's finish this. This is about to be a miraculous sweep if we can do this right here. And I guess the promising thing to me in both games was we come out in game 1 and we score 3 runs immediately. We come out in game 2 and we score 4 runs immediately. So that told me we can score against this team. So no matter whether we got down or whether we were up, I knew, hey, we can hit this team. We can hit. And that's what we did. We just had to hit with them. We had to stay in the game mentally, emotionally, couldn't get down. We talk about that all the time. You can't get too high. You can't get too low. You got to stay in the middle. You got to stay focused on what you're trying to do. But yeah, so that helped me out, as a coach, saying, hey, we scored 3 in the top of the first in game 1. We scored 4 in the top of first game 2. That's their number 1 and number 2 pitchers. So I'm like, we can put runs on them. So that's not an issue. We just had to find a way to stop the bleeding on defense, and playing at Jones, it's really hard to keep the ball in the park. It's one of the shortest fields that we play on, and that's always going to be, something you have to deal with when you go there, is there's going to be several home runs hit. So, but I was proud of our girls. They walked Abby Grace, 8 times?
I think it was, I was going to mention that you scored 20 runs. Yeah, 20 runs combined in 2 games. and AG didn't have a single hit. She was officially in the doubleheader 0 for 1. The only time she put a ball in play, she had a fly out, and then they walked her. The other 8
And let's
times
just
she
talk
come up
about
to
the
the
one
bat.
time she did get to swing. It was not supposed to be a hittable pitch.
Right.
They were trying to put her on again that at bat. So, Abby Grace just wanted to hit so bad, the girl left it over the plate, so she tried to hit it. But yeah, without her swinging a bat, we were still able to score 20 runs. That's huge.
So you look at this one, and as you mentioned it, 3-0 after the top of the first. The big hit in this one, Moat gets the leadoff double. Maudaire gets her over, or she scores on a RBI ground out by Maudaire. They walk AG with nobody on base in the top of the first, and then you and I talked about this earlier that day. You said, I'm going to move Leah up to the 4-hole and see what happens because she's been getting on base. It paid off right here because she hits a 2-run home run.
Yes.
She's hit 2 career home runs. Both of them have been this year, 1 at home, 1 on the road. So that's how you get up 3-0. And then you're really kind of cruising for most of the game. Kara got in a little bit of a jam in the second or the fourth. She was able to get out of that. And then in the fifth, they hit a 3-run home run, tied it, and you're thinking, okay, you got to reset, got to find a way to scratch across some runs. You can't in the sixth, but they take the lead in the sixth with another 3-run home run. And then the fourth inning happened, and you get a 2-run home run from Taylor Efferson and another 2-run home run from Madison Moak, who she finished the game 4 for 4 with 2 RBI, so she had the biggest bat for you in that one, as well as Kenley Ainsworth, who had 2 hits. But yeah, I think you also have to mention the fact that before Madison hits, you go to your bench, you bring up Laney for a pinch hit appearance. With 2 outs, you bring someone who's cold off the bench, and she gets you a single to extend the inning, and that's what allowed Moak to come up there and take the lead. So it felt like in this one, every move you made was the right move in this one.
Sometimes you just got to go with your gut. You just got to go with your gut and say, it's the right call. And, it's not always the right call, but Laney's been able to handle the pressure lately.
So you look at the pitching lines. Kara gets the start in this one, got the no decision, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. So, not maybe the best day from Kara. Like I said, she got in a little bit of a jam there in the fourth, was able to get out of that, but unfortunately wasn't able to finish the game for you. Taylor Efferson, you bring her in, and she just shuts them down. 1 hit in an inning and 2/3, 4 strikeouts. She gets the win there. So, again, as I mentioned, every button you pressed in this one was the right one, and it worked out for you.
Yep.
And then you look at game 2, and 13-11.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often in college softball, especially at our level. You mentioned it. You got out to that early 4-0 lead. They tie it with 4 runs in the first. Took advantage, I think, of an early error in the field by the Lady Wolves. They score 4 more in the third. They're up 8-4. They score 2 more in the fourth, 10-4. And at that point, you're thinking, man, we're probably going to split at this point. I don't know. Can we pull off the magic again? The answer was yes. You scored 5 in the third. You're now 10-7. They scored 1 in the fifth. Sixth. It's 11-7, and you're thinking we got to climb this hill. We got to find a way. We got to score at least 4 to keep this going. You scored 6.
They scored 6.
Didn't have a single home run. Didn't have anything. You took advantage of the Lady Bobcats made an error that extended the inning. Could have got them out of it. Could have ended the game. But again, a name we mentioned in the first game, Leah Phillips, came through with the biggest hit, and you got to feel good for her because the inning before she hit into a double play. Mm-hmm. She had a chance, I think, in game 1 maybe to hit one. Came up with the bases loaded, hit one to the fence. Could have been a game-changing grand slam, but this one she did change the game. Bases clearing double. You were down by, I believe, 2 at that point, or 1 at that point. It was 11-10. She clears the bases, gives you that 13-11 lead, and you go on and win it. But talk about your feelings on that one, because I think I texted y'all afterwards, and I was like, unbelievable. That's so amazing to watch.
Well, so like you said, when it got to be 10-4, it was honestly not a question of could we come back and score. It was just like we have got to stop them from scoring. And you haven't talked about it yet, but when it got to be 8-4, I went to Carly Rouse. Mm-hmm. And Carly Rouse told me, she said, "I'm ready, Coach. I'm ready." And boy, was she. She came in and she did a phenomenal job because being able to stop them from scoring allowed us to get back in it offensively. And once we made it 10-7, I said, we're back in this ball game, y'all. Let's go. We're back in the ball game. And then they make it 11-7 because we make an error So we've got to clean up defensively, especially against these type of teams in our conference. But 11-7, and we did not give up. You know, you get to the top of 7, and it's 11-7, and your leadoff batter gets out, and you have 1 out with no runners on base, still down 11-7, and you're thinking, we got to find a way. But it was a total team effort because they did exactly what I told them to do. I don't care how you do it, but I need everybody on base. And we come up, you know, people got on base, whether it be walk or whatever, error, and we had some timely hits. You know, like I said, that hit from Leia was huge because, I mean, it's 2 outs, bases loaded. If you get out, it's ball game. And she come up with a base clearing double, and that was huge, and I'm so proud of her.
You look at the pitching lines. Keegan got the start in this one, and it just seemed like I was watching a little bit because that game had started before, or it was during the break of a baseball game. It just looked like Keegan. You don't want to say she didn't have her best stuff, but it wasn't her day. You know, sometimes that happens for a softball pitcher.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with the pitcher and hitter matchups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are their tendencies and what type of pitcher is it? And I had already kind of questioned it before the game because I know what type of pitcher Keegan is. And after seeing them game 1, I knew what type of hitters they were. So I knew I was gonna go with her because she's been our game 2 starter. But I wanted to see, you know, how it was gonna go. And I just knew we probably needed to make a change pretty quickly.
So you look at it, a third of an inning, 2 hits, 4 runs, all of those unearned. So if there's one thing to look, you know, didn't hurt the ERA overall, not your best outing. You flush this one, you go ahead, you go, just wasn't my day, we'll move on. Taylor Everson comes in, 2 1/3, 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 of those earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Laney Wagasback, a third of an inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, both of those earned. A day where she maybe was a little bit off as well too. That's another one you look at, flush it. Wish what my day, we'll move on. You mentioned it just a second ago, Carly Rouse. You go to her, and you've talked about it several times. We've got 7 pitchers. Mm-hmm. You got to be ready whenever we call your name, and right. She was ready this one. She gets her first collegiate win, 4 innings, 1 hit, ball, 1 run. It was unearned, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. She really relied on the defense, and it really paid off for her. You also look at the hitters. Leah Phillips, 3 for 5, 4 RBIs, led the team there. A name we haven't mentioned very much, Emery Warren. You went to her, you brought her in as a pinch hitter. She stayed in the game, paid off for you. 3 for 3, 3 RBIs. Those were your 2 best bats in this one. Kenley Ainsworth also 2 for 3 with an RBI. So, again, a game where every button you pressed, it just felt like the right one. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
sometimes you're just in the moment. Sometimes you got to go with it, you know. And I'd already talked to Emery. You know, early in the season, Emery was a starter, and her bat just wasn't doing what we needed it to be doing. And you know, I kind of had a talk with her and said, "Hey, you got to find your way back in the lineup. You got to hit." And she said, "Yes, ma'am." And I talked to her a little bit between games, and I said, "Hey, be ready. You're probably going to get your opportunity this next game." And she did, and boy, did she take advantage of it. I was so proud of her. She had 3 excellent at-bats, and, I mean, she came off that bench ready, and I was proud of her. So
you also want to mention Madison Moak, 2 for 5. She was 6 of 9 for the day. Anytime you're a leadoff batter and you're sophomore and you know, all-conference player, all-region player. She was on the all-tournament team, all those things that she was last year. Anytime you can get 6 out of 9 out of your leadoff spot, including a game-winning home run in Game 1, you like your chances of on that day.
Absolutely.
So we'll look ahead. You got 2 more coming up this week. You're going to host one, and then you'll go on the road. Another top 15 matchup. I believe Northeast still ranked. I think last time we looked, they were 14th. I think they're still around that number. I'd have to look at it again. But first, we'll host John Melvin University. What do you know about the Millers heading into that one?
Honestly, not a whole lot. Conference has been my focus. We kind of picked up this game because we had 2 early cancellations on us. So we're just trying to get some more home games and a little bit more reps for everybody. So I guess we'll find out. So, and then as we mentioned a second ago, another tough road. It doesn't, for those sitting at home wondering, does it get easier? Not really. You've got a ranked opponent. From here on out, I think just about every week you've got somebody ranked or close to the rankings, receiving votes, something like that. But the Lady Tigers of Northeast, this is it's always a pretty good matchup between these 2 teams. But what do you know about them heading into this one? Well, I mean, they're always going to be competitive, and anytime we have to go to their place, they're usually pretty solid at their home field. And it's a full turf field, so it's a little bit different. We're not used to that. But we just don't put a whole lot of emphasis on who we're playing. We just tell our girls, hey, if we will play how we can play, and do what we do, it doesn't matter who we play, and so that's kind of our point of emphasis, is just focusing on us. I'll find out a little bit more information about them before Saturday. I know they're going to have some good arms in the circles. They're going to have several speedy girls. They're going to have some that can hit. They're going to be solid defensively. So they're definitely going to be another quality opponent. So we just got to bring our best.
All right, so looking forward to it. Lots of exciting things happening for the Lady Wolves. 6 straight wins in conference play. All 6 come from behind wins. Again, we said that was a theme. If you're paying attention, you caught that. Again, they'll host John Melvin University this Thursday and then go to Northeast on Saturday. Northeast will have those games on stream for those who can't make it up there. We won't have a stream on Thursday for that one, just not set up for it with baseball going on at home this week as well too. But we'll keep you tuned or keep you updated on everything that's going on our social media channels as well too. We'll have them back on stream next week when they're at home for a couple, but we'll talk about those next week with Coach Howard. Until then, I'm Kevin Kaiser, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in. The next time we talk to you, hopefully we'll see you on the baseball stream this Saturday when baseball hosts Northeast. If not, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in.